This is my 93 S-10 Blazer. This is a video going to show how I managed to make my dash lights blue with the white backing there. I got a couple of bulbs that aren't quite working right now, so I'm going to go ahead and fix them up. I'm going to show you while I'm doing that how I managed to make them work. Also, I'm going to show you how I got the bow tie to light up. And again, I had to fix two of the bulbs that aren't working. So, got the heater going. It's a little chilly. Got some snow today, so I'm trying to just get everything nice and warm so it's easy to work on. Let's start by taking the dash apart. So in my truck, the two screws underneath each of the sides there come out. They allow you to pull up the instrument panels. And then I've got 4 bolts inside this plastic housing. One on the top and bottom on each side. I'm going to use an extension 10mm socket to pull those guys out. And you'll be able to pull off the face, the whole, everything around the gauge clutch. Okay, I removed the 4 bolts, holding that guy in place. Now what you got to do is unhook some of the plugs and harnesses on there in order to be able to pull this thing away and then again slip it through. So what I did, particularly for my rear wiper and rear defrost, I know the S10s won't have that, but the Blazers might. I took a grease pencil, made a mark so I know that the gray connector clips onto that side. Just made a red mark on each of them so I'll be able to identify where it goes when I'm putting them back together. Now this guy's a little more complicated. You got to pull the actual face of this device off because there's a lot of stuff to fool around with in the back there, and it's a pain in the ass. I found, in my opinion, the easiest way is to pull the face of it off, as long as you can get those knobs off without breaking them. Once you break those knobs, well, your shit are locked in. So once you've got the faces off of those control panels, there's a panel right here, about 6 screws in it. Take them out, pop the panel off. Oh, you know what? There's 2 more underneath. There's 2 more screws into that thing, because that screws into this outer casing around the top, and then it should be able to pull out. Should be good to go. Then I'm going to work on fishing those things through the hole. Okay, I've got the trim around the edge of the gauge cluster out. Now the next part, you've got an option here. You can go ahead and remove all the plastic, all the screws that hold the plastic cover on, and that'll give you access to remove the rest of the screws all the way around to pull off the whole backing piece, leaving the gauges attached to the gray part, and the blue piece in the back is actually the board with the lights on it. The plastic cover's off. I set it up on the dashboard. You always want to make sure that you wipe that thing down before you put it back on, because if there are fingerprints in there, I don't know about you, but they'd drive me nuts. So when you're pulling this piece off, I've already pulled it off here, but you want to make sure you use 2 hands and try and pull it as straight as possible, because once you get it off, if you look at the back, you'll notice all the pins and connectors that actually plug into the back there, and those blue slots and those metal prongs. So you're going to want to try and avoid breaking those at all costs, because otherwise you're going to lose a speedometer or a fuel gauge or a battery gauge, who knows. So when I went ahead and painted the backings of these things white, I pulled this piece out exactly like I have it now. I went around to the back, I undid the screws, I removed the boards from the actual gauges, I labeled the gauges, T, temperature, V, voltmeter, O, oil pressure, so I knew what they were when I had to put them all back together. And then I taped off the needles, so the needles would stay the same color that they always were, the orange. I taped off the kilometers on there. And then I went ahead and painted the whole thing with just a can of spray paint. I think I did 2 coats of white spray paint, and then I did 2 coats of gloss on top. Looks great at night. Okay. I just plugged the connector back in to be able to turn the lights on. And this guy here is my trouble light. As soon as I seem to, it needs to just get bumped in the right way to turn on, so I'm going to have to fix that. My plan is to run a jumper. Shut that off. Oops. To run a jumper from the other lights that are actually working correctly. I'll join them all together and make sure everything's working. And then I'm also going to try and fix my headlight lamp down there that tells me when the headlights are supposed to be on. I wired that one in and it never worked correctly. Problem is, the board behind this thing where those light bulbs clip into, it's old, right? It's like 17 years old, so it's very brittle. It doesn't make contact very well anymore. What happens then is they'll just break and stop working on there. So I did actually have to pull it out. I forgot the way it was designed. So these are my bulbs that I added. What I did was kept the original sockets from the typical bulb. I was able to remove the bulb from the socket itself. I heated up my soldering iron and I managed to melt the prongs. Soldered it on there, and that's all she wrote. The only catch with these blue LEDs is that, well, with any LED, is that the fact that it's polarity sensitive. So the nice thing about these clips, though, they'll go in either way. You could just switch it around and your polarity's different right there. So it's just a matter of trial and error at that point. Once you're setting them all up, just to make sure that they're all working, you put one in, put it in, test it. If it doesn't work, switch it around the other way, and usually they fire right up. So okay, so I managed to fix my little light bulb problem. Put the cluster back in, just put the plastic cover back on it. My new blue seatbelt light. Used to be purple, actually. What I did was I scraped the plastic cover for it on the other side of it. So actually now it'll light up blue. And there we go. All my blue gauges fully lit now. For some reason, my dash light, again replaced with an LED, only flickers when I go to turn it on. The brights works, but I don't know, the signal light for it just doesn't quite stay on. But gauges are nice and blue. Still matching with these guys, so that's a plus. Time to throw it on the charger, I think, just below 12 volts. Alright, well, everything's back together. Seatbelt light. My nice, thoroughly lit gauges. Side panel still lights up. Pillar gauges light up. Everything looks good. Particularly, I like that seatbelt light. It used to be a blue LED through a red filter. It was kind of like a very, very dim purple light. Nice and bright and blue. Doesn't look so good on the camera, but I assure you in person it's much nicer.